Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome and thank you for joining me for the opening ceremonies of this year's Oppression Olympics. Of course, we have our traditional heavyweights of sexism and racism, but the relatively new transphobia and Islamophobia have certainly made their mark on the sport. Why, Islamophobia has gone far enough in the mental gymnastics category to make the first reactions to a terrorist bombing of some people be, oh no, this will cause more Islamophobia, instead of, holy shit, people just got blown the fuck up by some Islamist wacko. We need to find a way to make this stop. However, this year we have a new entrant that is threatening them all and striving to become the oppressiest oppression on the planet, and it has a technique that we truly have to admire as it blatantly steals from other oppressions. Yes, I am talking about the new up-and-comer colorism, and how with it you can be a black person and still be racist against black people, or a Latina and still be racist against Latina, all because you happen to look a little more white than your peers. That's right, minions. Racism among those of the same race is still all the white devil's fault. Now then, let us get lectured by a 17-year-old black girl. I present to you, Why Not Acknowledging Colorism Makes You Racist by Nabuma Ghana. Brava, fantastic start. Colorism. Prejudice or discrimination against individuals with a dark skin tone, typically among people of the same ethnic or racial group. Alright, seems like a bit of a niche oppression. That might cost them some points. Okay, so what differentiates this from your more traditional racism is that it is within the same ethnic group. What I do not understand is that white people have been colorist against each other for millennia as well. This isn't exclusive to non-whites in America. Essentially, this is just another way of saying, I am going to treat you different because you look differently than me, or tribalism in its original term. I mean, for fuck's sake, the Nazis had the Aryan poster child with blonde hair and blue eyes as the Ubermensch, not to mention how the rest of Europe shat on the Irish. Granted, in the modern day, there isn't as much of this as in the past, but I'm quite sure there is still some animosity amongst the ethnic groups in Europe. Colorism is a term that's rather unfamiliar to mainstream, as the term isn't used as commonly as racism. Yeah, because normally most people just consider you a raging asshole if you act like this rather than give it its own name. Many might not realize that the terms are unequivocally intertwined. Colorism is a byproduct of centuries of embedded racism that has integrated its way into a diversity of cultures. Yes, but you can't blame the white devils for this one. The black tribes in Africa all saw distinctions among themselves, just as the Indians in America did as well. Again, tribalism. We see colorism in Asian cultures, in the black community, and in the Latinx community. Latinx? What, was that a typo? But we more than often refuse to acknowledge colorism exists, claiming it fragments us further. All forms of tribalism will fragment your society if you take them too seriously. This is why you have healthy outlets for your tribalism, such as sports. Every major city has their sports team, but very few people are going to actively discriminate against someone who roots for the other team. And those who do discriminate on something so trivial are universally considered wankers. However, claiming that colorism doesn't exist doesn't help the problem, it just feeds the problem. It's only a problem if you take it too seriously. Someone has darker skin than you? If you do not care and do not treat them differently, then won't the problem cease to exist? This is like that classic Morgan Freeman video. Stop talking about it and it will eventually go away. Stop picking the scab already. In Chapter 4 of Dear White People, we see a symbolic clash between Coco and Sam, representative of the light-skinned versus dark-skinned debate in the black community. Throughout this episode, Coco, the dark-skinned weave-wearing black girl, is seen by Sam as a whitewashed brown-noser. Coco calls Sam out, saying it is her light-skinned privilege to be woke. Ugh, I hate that term. And to be angry about black issues because the whole world, at least the black community in this episode, would actually listen to her. If you don't place an emphasis on looks and instead on, what was it that one famous guy said? The content of your character, then things will be much better. Society, community, whatever you want to call it, is nothing more than a large group of individuals. Community actions are just the aggregate of individual actions. If you can convince people to stop looking at the color of your skin, typically by not drawing attention to it regardless of your color, you can get society to stop looking at the color of your skin. If you don't emphasize it as your most important fucking trait, then the rest of society won't see it as your most important trait either. Your culture, your community, is made by you. You want it changed? Change yourself. We also see a young Coco being told to take the ugly doll as she plays with other girls. The ugly doll turns out to be the dark-skinned girl with kinky natural hair. Here again, we see colorism in a grassroots form, although not candidly mentioned. Colorism, though not synonymous with racism, is a branch and consequence of years of embedded racism, which is why it goes unnoticed in mainstream culture. No, you daft girl, tribalism is a consequence of millions of years of evolution. It is the byproduct of natural selection and competition and wanting your tribe to exist even at the expense of the other tribe. Let's do a thought experiment. Imagine you and a stranger are in a room, and one of you has to die. I am betting your thought process would be something along the lines of, I choose you to die on account of you not being me. Why do you think marriage was such a strong unifier of ancient kingdoms? Once the royals were married, they were all one tribe, and warring against the other side was warring against yourself. Tanning culture and Eurocentric beauty standards, in general, have led us to believe that what's right is what's right. Oh, fucking hell. You live in a Western society that has its roots in European culture. Europe is ethnically white. Western societies that are predominantly white in population are going to have beauty standards that fall more in line with what ethnically white people consider beautiful. I dare you to take a trip to Africa or China and see just how far Eurocentric beauty standards permeate. You will not see a white person on a billboard in Burkina Faso or Uganda. White people in most of Africa are seen as exotic and get treated accordingly. I know how black women love to complain about people asking to touch their hair. That shit happens to white people in predominantly black regions where they are the exotic ones. The question is, though, how deep do these differences subject us to different societal social castes? What? There's a grammar problem here. Who's your fucking proofreader? I think you were trying to say, how do these differences subject us to different societal social castes? In this case, it depends on where in the world you are. Most of Western society has laws against castes, and even then, your place in society is more dictated by your wealth than your skin. Yeah, race is a social construct, but it's also systemic, working to benefit white people and in turn people who look like them. Okay, where to start? First, race is not a social construct. There are very specific genetic differences between the races. While these are almost all physical, there are objective differences. If race was purely a social construct, the whole Rachel Dolezal thing would not be such a complete shit show. Second, the culture of a population is going to be structured so that it benefits the majority of that population. Expecting otherwise is foolish. White-passing POC and lighter-skinned POC like Sam don't have to adhere to the same standards or discriminations as their darker counterparts. They can be as loud, overbearing, and quirky as they want because the way the world sees them doesn't affect the way the world treats them. And here we get a telling insight into the author's mind. Everything is collective. You are seen and treated by individuals, not the world as a whole. Stop thinking the whole world is against you. Individuals are assholes. Society is indifferent. Across all cultures, especially in the black community, more collectivism, colorism fundamentally changes the interactions and beauty standards for those who are within that culture, specifically for women. Beauty standards are going to be dictated by the dominant population of the region. Live in a Western society and you will likely have to live in a society that values white beauty standards. Live in an African society and black beauty standards will be dominant. Like racism, colorism is entwined with sexism, forming archetypes that we dignify by telling ourselves that they are harmless jokes or just the way things are. The loud, ghetto, dark-skinned black girl has no say in her sublimation when you put her in that position in the first place, now does she? I can barely follow what she's saying here. No one forces a black girl to be loud and ghetto. She does that on her own, and making a joke about someone who acts like that is harmless in the same way making a joke about the Jersey Shore rejects or white trailer trash people is harmless. People, in the Western world at least, are not shackled to the place or societal strata they are born in. You can move out. You can move up, too. Look at Ben Carson, for example. Black man born to a single mother, turned brilliant brain surgeon, now a cabinet-level government official. Colorism isn't just an idea or a far-fetched concept. It presents itself in divergent facets and avenues. You could say it has roots even deeper than racism. Yep, as I said before, this is just another example of tribalism and is due to natural selection. Colorism is the reason Kylie Jenner can wake up and choose her lips and preferred skin color and be revered for it. Yet, God forbid a white chick wants to wear dreads. You love to scream cultural appropriation. Colorism is the reason Lexi Forprez, a white-passing Latina, is praised for being woke, scraping the bare minimum while her darker counterparts are being silenced and ignored. The fact that she is also considered gorgeous and spouts the exact crap that these social justice leftists love to hear has nothing to do with it, I am sure. Being pretty will get you far in this world, and vanity is definitely one of my favorite sins. Colorism is centuries of Jim Crow miscegenation that work to displace us in our indigenous communities today. And she has officially jumped the rails of sanity. Correct me if I am wrong, but am I really reading that she has a problem with interracial relationships because it displaces us in our indigenous communities? How is this any different than the 14-word slogan of white supremacists or the KKK trying everything in their power to stop interracial relationships because it taints the white genetics with lesser races? Seriously, Nabuma, go fuck yourself. You are racist. Colorism speaks volumes. Only about those who believe it. It speaks on how we continuously seek to oppress even when we don't know that we're doing so. If you don't know you're doing it, how can you be said to be seeking it? Is it possible to unintentionally seek something? Seek and oppress are both active actions that require intent. I think this stems from that awful academic definition of oppression as prejudice plus power, which I absolutely despise because it leads to bullshit like this. Whether we like to admit it or not, each of us are held to an infinite amount of privilege. Okay, so everyone is privileged now? Does that mean no one is oppressed? I'm confused. To assume that there aren't levels, that there aren't systems within systems that work to regress minority communities, wouldn't just be ignorant but cruel. No, there are not systems working to keep minority communities down, at least not in Western society. Those kinds of laws have been struck down, and discrimination based on race is illegal pretty much across the board. Perhaps you are thinking about, say Saudi Arabia, where Christians are not legally allowed to openly practice their religion or display religious symbols. Go there and have yourself a protest, please. Not acknowledging colorism, regardless of what race you are, but recognizing systemic implication, is not acknowledging racism, and not acknowledging racism makes you racist. No, being a racist twat makes you racist. Just living your life and not constantly thinking in collective terms, or not being acutely aware of your skin color and the color of those around you does not make you a racist. Let me reiterate that. Not caring about color does not make you racist. You know what does make you racist? Caring about and treating others differently based on the color of their skin, regardless of whether they are in your ethnic group or not. I am going to refer you back to your miscegenation remark and suggest you look in a mirror, Ms. Ghana, because your lack of self-awareness is staggering. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for our introduction to the latest competitor in the Oppression Olympics. We here at Possessed Productions look forward to seeing how this rookie fares, taking the classic moves of racism and applying it to everyone in every ethnic group so that now everyone is racist. It's a bold move and it may just pay off. Until next time, my minions, Via Com Diablos, Amiki Me.